welcome to episode 43 of Stitched in Sweden. I'm Maria, your host, and you can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as mmonska. The show notes for this week and all other weeks are on the blog stitchedinsweden.blogspot.com, and we also have a Ravelry group where you can join in the chatter about this week's episode. And bread, we've been over there having a lot of people share their delicious looking loaves of bread, so that has been a nice new addition to the, well, not new really now, but a nice addition to the Ravelry group. So today I would like to talk to you a little bit about what I've been working on, a couple of dream knits, and one finished object, which I don't have with me, but we'll still talk to you a little bit about. And I'll start out with This Week in Stockholm. So this week in Stockholm, I have started a new class again, which has been quite busy, but it's been really good. So it's advanced statistics, which sounds like how could it be really good, but a really great instructor, and that's been a nice positive thing. So in some ways this first week of this course has flown by. In other ways it seems like, oh my gosh, how could, it seems like a lot of intense time doing statistics. But before this week, I was in Copenhagen for the sort of long weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, which was a lot of fun, and I thought I would put in a couple of pictures at the end of the episode to just show you a little bit. It was a pretty quick trip, of course, but we had a really great time exploring the city a little bit, walking around a lot, and eating lots of delicious food. It was a really great time. And I had never been to Copenhagen before, so it was nice to see a new city that's another Scandinavian city, but some things were very similar to Stockholm and some things were really different. So I thought it was a really beautiful city with a lot of interesting architecture and somehow had a older, more cohesive design feeling to me than Stockholm does. Anyway, I'll put in a couple pictures at the end if you're interested in checking those out. So otherwise, I have also this week been waking up about an hour earlier than I need to in order to enjoy another half cup of tea or cup of tea and spend a little bit of time knitting in the morning. And it's been particularly nice because it seems now that spring is on the horizon and the mornings, well, I could notice at night too, but particularly in the mornings we have sun again in the apartment, so it's nice to be able to catch a little bit of morning light and knit for a little while. I did have one yarn-ish related acquisition this week, and I ordered a bag from Alex Collins Designs. She's Alex Collins Designs, I think, or just Alex Collins on Instagram, and she has a website. And I ordered this canvas tote, and I really love it. It's so well made. She has made both the tote itself and the screen printing, and she cut out the design herself. She has a really lovely collection of bags, and she has some zippered bags and some drawstring, as well as little lavender sachets, and just a really beautiful collection. You can see her label there. And I'm really impressed with this bag. It's just so well made. I mean, everything about it is perfect. All the seams are finished on the inside, and it's just really done well. So I'm definitely excited to get some knitting in there next time I go, maybe to knit night or whatever. I think it will be fun to carry with me with a project in it. I might start bringing it to school. We'll see. So far I haven't brought it with me because I don't want to get it dirty, but I think I just have to get beyond that point and start using it. I thought I would share what I've been working on. Before we went to Denmark, I was intensely working on my loose top, which I had shown you after a long hiatus last time. And I have made quite a bit of progress on this, and I am approaching the end, so that is really exciting. Now, when I first started knitting this, I don't know how I didn't really realize this, but there are a lot more ends than I anticipated with this project. So here it is. It's really close to being done. You can see that I think I hadn't knit all of the front before. Now it's all knit. And the back, I think I had maybe knit part of the back before. After the armholes, and now the front is knit, both fronts. It's also on this side. And right now I am pretty sure I just need to 3-needle bind off these sleeves together. The right sleeve, top of the sleeve. It has a little seam on the top. The original pattern also has a little keyhole, I guess you would say, right on the sleeve here, and I decided to omit that for a couple of reasons, which I'll say in just a minute. But yay! Really close to being done, and you can see a really obvious line here in the middle, which will go away after blocking. It's the difference between my washed part, which is this bottom part, and the top part, which has not been washed yet. So just another example of why you should always block your knitted garments or any knitted project. I still need to pick up and do the neckline, which will be a garter stitch, just like the bottom part here, a little garter stitch neckline. The armholes actually are already finished off. They have a neat little I-cord, but oh my goodness, so many ends. See all those? Every single row of the nice little flecks of darker pink requires breaking the yarn and starting again. In the original pattern, these dots happen less frequently, so there would be, half as many ends to weave in, but I wanted them to be more frequent, so that means a lot more ends to weave in, and of course all the way up to where I split for the armhole, it was all in the round, so I never had to break the yarn and weave in ends. But ever since splitting for the sleeves, I've been knitting back and forth instead of in the round, and then I need to break the yarn every time to start another row of the darker pink color. So that's not the most fun thing in the world. I've been trying to weave in some of them as I go, so maybe like when I finished one front, then I would weave in all the ends. But it's like, so think one front, there's ends on this side and this side, because you knit across, it's like this big of a distance that you have to have the new color. So there's a lot of ends, but I think it will be worth it in the end. You might notice that on the back here, there's a little bit of color change right around here. I don't know how visible it is on the screen. I'm hoping that it won't be too visible because I ran out of yarn, like I said I was going to last time. And what I decided, actually I haven't run out yet, but I it was obvious that I wasn't going to have enough, so I went and bought another ball of the Holst Garn Super Soft. I have the right here. It's knit out of Holst Garn Super Soft. The light pink color is called Sugar Snap, and the darker pink, which is the spots, is Geranium, I think. So I was going to run out of Sugar Snap, and I went to the store, got another ball of it, and I decided to start alternating every second row on the back of the garment, so that if there was going to be a noticeable change in color, that it wouldn't be right on the front, like where someone's looking at me, and maybe also because then it wouldn't be so obvious to me if I look in a mirror or something, part of it. So I decided that I would finish the fronts with the color for the rest of the body, the original ball that I had. And with the new dye lot, I would start striping on the back. Yeah, alternating every other row. I don't think you can really tell. And then I alternated every other row for maybe 10 rows or something, and then switched over to the new color. So maybe you can tell the top part here is the new ball and the bottom is the other one. I think it has a slightly more yellowish color to it, and I am not sure, but some of that might go away with washing, because this yarn does have some of the spinning oil left in it. When I've washed it before, the water has been really dirty. Now both of these ones are unwashed, so I don't know. The color should change maybe about the same amount, but maybe one had more spinning oil or something. Who knows? Anyway, these sleeves were constructed in kind of a cool way, with some increases along here, so they're a little cap sleeve. And in the original pattern, the sleeves are, I don't know if it's called a cap sleeve. I guess I don't really know what a cap sleeve is, but the sleeves are a little bit longer, go farther down the arm than how I have made them. I really pretty much just have a little cap sleeve. And in the original, it's it is a bit longer, like that, and then you can see the keyhole there. So mine will be more like up here, I think, and I omitted the keyhole. Part of the reason I did that is because I made the top more fitted overall, and also because I like the way that my sort of modified water lily top that I did I've knit two sort of water lily like tops. One of them is actual water lily pattern, and I knit that in a sort of purplish gray alpaca silk yarn. And the other one I knit in a cornflower blue Holst garn, which is the same as this pink top here. And that one I had the sleeves kind of tighter because I also knit that top more fitted than the original pattern, and I think it just looked better with the sleeves short. I think it might look sort of strange if I had an overall more fitted top with the longer sleeves. And I was looking at some of the projects for the loose top, and I wasn't sure if I liked how the sleeves kind of poofed out. I think they look good in the original, but for the projects, I just felt that I wanted to change them a little bit. So, that is that. I haven't knit on that again since we came back from Copenhagen, but I'm really close now, and I hope that it doesn't sit for another couple months. I can't do that. It won't. I'm going to finish it. I have also been working on another pair of socks. These socks are in my modular, I think, bag, which I got from Fancy Tiger Crafts in Denver. And I cast these socks on, I think, maybe the day before we left, because I thought I must have a project to take with me, but I wasn't going to take the loose top because I had the different balls of yarn that I was alternating and color work and having to break the ends all the time. I just knew that that wasn't going to be a good travel project. Also because it's kind of cumbersome. Well, it's just like, at this point, it's almost a sweater. And we just took backpacks with us, very limited luggage. We were flying on Ryanair. And yeah, we were just going for the weekend, so we just wanted to take backpacks. So I needed a small portable project, so I cast on a pair of socks, which then I didn't knit at all while we were there, but I still carried them with me and was happy to have them, I guess. Anyway, these socks may look familiar. They are the Crenate pattern by Rachel Coopy. And I'm realizing now that I don't have my sock blocker with me. You can see it. But I think you can. I know some of you think it's funny when I do this, so. There we go. There's my sock. And this yarn is so lovely to knit with. The yarn is the Smooth MCN base from the Wool Barn, and she has actually new tags now. I think this was from a little while ago, but she also has a new website which looks really great. So check out thewoolbarn.com now instead of on Etsy. This is the Smooth MCN base in the Antique Rose colorway. So this is an 80% superwash merino, 10% cashmere, 10% nylon. And it's so soft and so nice. Thomas has a pair of cashmere MCN socks, and I don't have a pair myself. And he really loves those socks because they're so soft. And I thought, I can't really, okay, his are purple, but I thought maybe, you know, this would be a little bit too pink for him. So I figured I should make myself a pair of socks out of this lovely yarn. I'm really enjoying this pattern too because it's complex enough that it's interesting to knit, but it's very intuitive, and the lace pattern, you know, is pretty repetitive, so, and that I can read it. I can read my knitting while I'm in class, so I can knit this in class and know exactly where I am in the pattern and not have to look at the pattern because I can figure it out from the knitting, so it makes a perfect project for in class. I knit these before on another Wool Barn. Here they are. And I made the same mistake on this pair as I did on this pair, but on this pair I fixed it. You can see here on the back that it gradually changes into, yeah, well, whatever. It looks like this, okay? And then on this one, I did the V things on both of the sides, so I'm not describing this well, but you can see the difference maybe. I made the same mistake when I did this one, but then I undid it, and for this one I just figured, whatever. I was already a couple rows past and I was in class and I didn't really want to rip back and try to pick up stitches, so I thought, you know, I'll just leave it like that. I did make a modification for the heel, and I did a Dutch heel, which is the square heel. And I'm pretty sure that I put some links for that in my project. Yeah, I really like this heel. It fits me very well. Because this original pattern has a heel flap and it's sort of incorporated into the pattern, because part of the heel flap has this sort of leaf motif on it. I didn't feel like I wanted to substitute the Fish Lips Kiss heel, for example, into that, or some other type of afterthought heel. I really did want to stick with a flap and gusset, so for when I have a flap and gusset, I prefer the square heel now. So that's one project I've been working on. I started the second one in class today, and in 2 hours I knit about this much, so that is coming along well. And I like how it matches the bag, kind of. You can see it a little bit. The other project I worked on this week, I cast on when we came home from Copenhagen, and that's because, well, for a couple of reasons. First of all, it was so cold the whole time we were there. It was rainy and windy and snowing, and somehow I didn't bring a hat because I thought, oh, Copenhagen, that's a little bit further south, it'll be warm there. I knew it wasn't going to be warm, but I somehow didn't think it was going to be quite as cold as here. But then again, we were also outside walking around all day, seeing different sights and, yeah, just exploring the city. And I didn't bring a hat. And I didn't have any warm mittens either, so I don't know what I was thinking, and I think it's crazy. I shouldn't be cold when I'm outside because I'm a knitter, but for some reason, when I came home, I decided I should probably cast on some mittens for right now because it's still cold, and why not? So I was looking at some yarn that I had, the Jamieson's Shetland Spindrift, and oops, that's totally blowing out. That's what the tag looks like. And I have quite a few different colors of this, so I started, mixing different colors of it, sending pictures to my friends, and being like, okay, which colors should I combine? And in the end, I had a totally different set of colors than I was originally planning on putting together, but I am so happy with how they turned out. So here is the first mitten, and it has a thumb. I did the thumb directly so that I wouldn't get lazy and not do it, and then have thumbless mittens for who knows how long. And it's still a little bit tricky to try it on because I have a million ends to weave in on the inside. I'll show you that in a second. But these fit so nicely. This is the first time that I've done an afterthought thumb for mittens. Before, I always figured that they would be too tight around the thumb and it would stretch weirdly, and I don't think it does at all. It turned out really nice. You can see a little hole right here. That's because that's where one of the yarns joined, and I haven't woven in that end, so I'll pull it in when I weave in the ends on the back. But I just did a sort of spiral decrease on the top. It's really overcast today, so the lighting is not the best, but I wanted to record, so it is what it is. These mittens are sort of a combination of a couple of different things and some inspiration from Ravelry and Instagram. Here's the second one I started. I originally saw Leeside Knits Northern Skies mittens. It's a project on her Ravelry page, and she knit a pair of mittens that look similar to this with grays and a nice mustard yellow with a similar sort of pattern, colorwork motif. So I really liked her mittens, and actually she posted a picture, I think on Instagram or Pinterest, that I saw it, several mittens all stacked together, which were just really pretty, and I liked them a lot. So I saw those and was inspired to knit more colorwork mittens. So But I really liked her pair with this kind of motif on them. So I looked at her project and saw that the colorwork part came from a pattern called Oma's Wanten, but I'm guessing that it's Wanten or something, because it probably means, like, I'm guessing grandma's mittens in Dutch, because their pattern is originally written in Dutch. Anyway, it's OMA apostrophe S space WANTEN, and it's a free pattern on Ravelry. It's a pattern, I think, for worsted weight or Aran weight yarn, and this is fingering. But I just cast on, I think, 56 stitches, and she just has a couple of different colorwork charts that you can sort of mix and match in any order that you want to knit these mittens. I think she also has a different thumb, but I just put in the afterthought. It's not really a pattern maybe so much as an example of some different colorworks that you could use. But she does have some different sizing options, and with this colorwork pattern it was really easy because the repeat is only 4 stitches, so it's easy to adjust the size, sort of like socks. Maybe you would knit 56 stitches or 64 or 68 depending, but you could kind of easily adjust your numbers within that range, sort of. So I cast on 56 on the cuff, and the cuff is inspired by the Dala mittens, which are a Swedish Norwegian pattern that has this sort of cuff with little eyelets, and it will look a little bit different when it's blocked, but you can see these little eyelets here and the stripes, and on the original ones there's more stripes, but I liked it like this. And then I increased to 60 stitches for the main body part of the colorwork. And I think I held off 10 for the thumb, so that was 10 on each side, plus I picked up 2 or so along the edge to try to close the hole there. So now I'll show you the inside of this mitten so you can feel my pain with the number of ends I have to weave in. I probably could have carried the yarn at some points for this mitten, and normally I think I would have done that, right? All of those ends. But for me it was worth it just to pull it off and start again with a new strand, because yeah, this has 5 different colors in it. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah, 5 different colors, and it was getting a little crazy having all these different balls of yarn everywhere. So I would rather just have 2 colors going at a time and weave in the ends. And that's the nice thing about this colorwork pattern. If you are new to colorwork and you want to give it a try, I would definitely recommend something like this, where you're only ever working 2 colors at a time. But you can still get a really interesting pattern, and you can incorporate a lot of different colors into one project if you want. Or, you know, you could also knit this in 2 or 3 colors, but I've picked 5. In case you're wondering what the colors are, you can check it out on my project page. And like I said, they're all the Jamieson's Shetland Spindrift. So there's a light gray, white, this kind of, I think it's called damask, which is like this pinkish color. You have the dark purple there, and then the dark gray. So those are a lot of fun, and they're going really quick, so I should be able to finish this second one up really soon, and I think I'm at the part where I need to put in the thumb, and then I'll have another pair of mittens, so that will be lovely. Now for myself, it's easier. I don't feel like I'm giving anything away because this is a free pattern. You can see I had to do a little cutting and pasting, but for me it's easier to draw out my actual colors that I'm using. So in the pattern, they have different colors, so maybe they used green and red or something like that. And for me, it just is worth the little bit of extra time, and it's kind of fun to get out some colors and create my own chart so that I can follow along directly and I don't have to think always like red equals gray for me, translating the colors like that. So I could recommend that with just a little graph paper. You can make your own chart and it's easier to follow. And you can also then, you could make the chart before you start knitting so you can see like, oh, do I want to change any of these colors? Do I think they'll look good together? Or you can like play around with the order or something. So here are all the colors that I used. You can see those. I'm already planning another pair with some other colors that I have. Hopefully my microphone is not rubbing on my shawl. So those are the main things that I have worked on this week, or the last 2 weeks, however long it's been. I also finished my pair of blue socks that I was knitting last week. Oh yeah, 1 second. Really quick. I cast on those mittens, and then I also got some purple tulips, which I just have been really enjoying. So tulips tell me spring is coming. Mittens, well, spring in Sweden, it needs mittens, so maybe it's also that spring is coming because I still need mittens. Anyway. Oh yeah, one other thing about the mittens. For now, I will probably just weave in the ends and wear them as is after I block them. But possibly in the future, I may go back and, depending on how they fit once they're blocked also, I may go back and pick up along the edge here on the inside right after the cuff and knit lining for the other part of the mitten. But I haven't decided that yet, and that probably won't happen until, if it does happen, it won't happen until the summer or whenever I don't need the mittens anymore. Maybe I will need them in the summer. Okay, so moving on. One finished object this week I don't have with me is my finished Regia socks, which were knit in the jeans blue on my Knit Pro Zings. And I have given these to my friend. I was sort of vague last time because I wasn't sure if he ever watches the podcast, but I have a classmate who loves wool, and he's always interested in what I'm knitting, and another girl in my class who knits and sometimes crochets. He's always interested in what we're working on, and he always has a nice wool sweater, and he likes wool socks, and his girlfriend actually contacted me on Instagram and asked me if I would be willing or interested in ever knitting some socks for him as like a commission. So I said of course that I would knit him some socks because I'm also friends with him and I knew that he would really appreciate them. So we had this sort of secret project going on, which was fun, and he was really surprised, and I think that he really likes them. So that was a really nice thing to do, and I think that I think he'll get a lot of good use out of them. So that was fun. Anyway, I don't have them with me because I wrapped them up and gave them to him right before we went to Denmark. So this week I have been also doing some dream knitting. So in my head I showed you some sweaters that I've been thinking of last week, and I'm still waiting for some yarn to come for the herbarium pullover, which was so kindly gifted to me by a viewer of the podcast, so thank you very much. But I should be casting that on as soon as the yarn comes, or swatching for it anyway. While we were in Denmark, I saw the new Interpretations 3 collection by Joji Locatelli and Vera Velamaki come out, and they have some really beautiful patterns in there. I don't have specific ones that I have picked out as definitely that I want to knit, but if you haven't looked through that collection, I would definitely recommend taking a look at it. Drea Renee Knits, I think is her, whatever. Andrea Mowry, also a knitwear designer, came out with a new collection today of, I think, 3 shawls or something. Not today, this week or something. And they are called the Drea Renee Knits is her name on Instagram. And her and Annie Roden have made a new collection called Naturally Straightforward. And there are a collection of shawl patterns that they did as a collaboration where I think one of them knit the first part of it and then the other person finished the rest of the shawl. So I really like the freshwater shawl. And I think, originally I thought it was in brioche, but I actually think it might be garter stitch now that I'm looking at it. And maybe just part of it is in brioche. I'm not positive. But it's it's 1,040 yards of fingering weight in 2 colors. So that's a lot of yarn. I don't have that in my stash, I don't think. So I will need to think a little bit more on that one, but it's a really nice shawl and I'll put in a picture of it here. So that is one thing that I've been dream knitting this week. I know some of you liked those pictures that I put in last week, so I always like hearing what other people are interested in knitting, because sometimes you can only knit so fast or have so many things going at once, but there's always lots of things I think that you might be thinking about knitting or wishing that you could knit. Anyway, I thought I would finish this week with just a little shout out, I guess, to some podcasters. I don't usually talk about what podcasts I watch or listen to, mostly because I don't know why. It just seems it feels a little bit strange to me, but I don't have a ton of time to watch and listen to podcasts, but when I do, I really enjoy it. And there are 2 podcasts that I've been enjoying lately, which are the Sticks Plus Twine podcast with Eric, and these are 2 Canadian podcasts. So Sticks Plus Twine with Eric, and he has also been sharing a lot in the Ravelry group, in my Ravelry group, in the bread thread. So I thought I would just say hello to Eric, and he has been making some delicious looking loaves of bread. And he has some good ideas and has been giving some tips over in that thread as well. Another podcast that I have been enjoying this week is the Grocery Girls podcast with Tracy and Jody, and they are also from Canada. And they're so funny, and it just they're really entertaining to watch because they're 2 sisters and they seem to have such a good relationship and can share their enthusiasm about yarn with each other. They always make me laugh in their podcast. So it's just really entertaining to watch. And you feel like you are sitting down and chatting with friends about knitting. That's what I think a podcast should be. So hi, Jody and Tracy, if you are watching. So I think that is about it for this week. Today we are going to make some dinner and then head over to one of my friends from school. She's having some of the people from the class over this evening, so that should be fun. And I'm hoping to get some knitting done this weekend. So it looks like it's going to snow, which will make it even more nice to be sitting inside with a cup of tea and some knitting. I hope you are all well, and I look forward to seeing what you're working on Instagram. Come over to the Ravelry boards if you are interested, and I'll see you next time. Happy knitting!